Fighting Noise, a non-noise podcast. With No Noise, I fight against noise pollution. Talking about that fight, a lot of music lovers feel attacked directly, which is not right, because me too, I love music. But sometimes, music hurts. That's why you need to protect yourself. Many solutions have been created to protect your ears. I host one of them today, Tom Trones, Chief Product Officer and co-founder of Minuendo. Hi Tom, how are you doing?
Good to meet you.
Thanks for being here. Is it a topic you hear as well? The difference between music and noise? Is it a topic you have as well to discuss?
Yes, of course. And we, in our lossless product, try to market towards musicians and concert goers. And then, of course, noise is not really the right word because music is wanted noise, wanted sound, while noise is unwanted sound. But still, all the amount and levels of sound can be dangerous and hazardous for our hearing health. So we try to be nuanced in the way that we use the words, like noise. We use that in topics where it is industrial noise or traffic noise, basically anytime there's unwanted sound.
Can you start maybe presenting yourself? Tom Trones, you're from Oslo, so can you explain to our listeners who you are?
Yeah, so I've spent most of my career in the kind of intersectionality between technical subjects and sound and music. I've been working with audio branding, sound design, and project management. And since 2018, I co-founded Minuendo, where I have been responsible for product. And so I have a background as an acoustician, so I have a deep understanding of kind of the technical aspects of sound, but I'm also a musician, so I enjoy the creative aspects of it as well.
That's your real background, right? It's not a fake background. That's a real background. So
no, it's real.
We confirm the musician part. So can you explain a bit more about Minuendo first, and then why did you create Minuendo? But first, explain maybe what's Minuendo.
Yeah, so Minuendo makes hearing protection. We have one part of the business that sells direct to consumers, where we have these earplugs that are meant for musicians and concert goers. We term them lossless earplugs, where it's a play on you don't lose them since they're magnets. And then there's also this high natural sound quality so that you don't lose frequencies. And the third part is that if you use our earplugs, you don't lose the actual hearing. So you don't lose your hearing if you use our earplugs. And the second part of the business is more of a B2B play, where big companies doing manufacturing, having noise problems, workers, they have a stronger responsibility for that the workers don't lose their hearing while at work. So we have earplugs that monitor, and the service that data service that always monitors the hearing health of their employees. So we are one of very few that do actual active noise monitoring in the ear canal, in the earplugs themselves. Overlapping areas,
so
but also
you don't monitor the noise in the factory. You don't monitor the noise in the factory. You monitor the noise coming into the earplugs.
Yes, so it's an individual dose, just like you would if you were working in an environment that had gas in it. You would have an individual gas exposure monitor. So this would be a personal noise monitor.
I like asking founders why you, Tom, co-created Minuendo. What's your story? As a musician, but you told me now you...
I've always been quite aware of hearing protection. So even from a very early age, while I was playing music in bands, I was always wearing earplugs. I got the custom molded earplugs before I was 18. And and I think it had to do with like the levels that I was exposed to in those kind of music situations. We were playing quite loudly, so it felt like a necessity without being very. I wasn't very like aware of the actual implications of hearing loss, but I've always used it, and I've always been the type to use earplugs when going to clubs and not and yeah. So I think when this opportunity came up, where we had this technology that had been researched and funded by the Norwegian Council for innovation for a long time, like 3 years, the project had run, and we had this amazing technology that we wanted to try to commercialize, try to fit it into a product that could serve a very useful purpose, and that's what we've done.
So the research has been funded by the government, Norwegian government, right? And you did the 3 years of research until 2021, yes. and then you started to sell a product, or?
Oh, actually, before that. So there was 3 years of research before the company was founded in 2018.
Okay.
We've almost been working on this for 10 years. So I joined in 2018 after kind of the research phase was done and there was time to commercialize. So that's when we co-founded the company.
And a few metrics about Minuendo, if you share it, I don't know, how many headset do you sell, or what the figures, the statistics around your first success in the last still 7 years, which is quite long.
Yeah. So obviously there was a pandemic in between, so that was a challenge trying to launch a very high-end earplug in a market where there were no events with loud sounds. But still, we've managed to sell more than 40,000 earplugs to date, and still trying to grow that, make it more available to other geographies. So we've mostly sold in US and Europe until now, and then working to expand to be more available in the rest of the world as well.
How many are you in the team?
We've been like 17, and now we've kind of focused more over towards a sales and marketing type of organization rather than just R&D, which is typical for a startup where in the beginning you need a lot of people to create the products and start up the production lines, and then when that's flowing, it's a kind of shift.
Okay, and a few fundraising rounds as well?
Yes, so we've raised over 10 million euros so far, and we're still looking for potential investors.
Okay. And what you told me in B2C, your target audience are music lovers, musicians themselves, or people going into festival, I guess. And then you switch to B2B with a smart alert, being able to do that. Why is the switch from B2C to B2B?
Well, it was actually more the other way around. We always planned to do the B2B thing, but it's more complex to create a product with electronics and with signal processing, with a cloud solution and everything that and all the certifications that go with that. So we knew that would take quite a long time to get to market, and that's why we created these musician products as an in-between, just to kind of learn how to make products, start a production line, know how to certify hearing protection, which was a big task in itself. And it turned out those kind of in-between products were quite successful, and users really love them. So that's it's not really a pivot of any sort. It's just it was a plan from the beginning to create these kind of in-between products and serve these two different markets.
Okay, and when did you start with the final product for B2B?
It's been in sale for about 2 years now, I believe.
Mm-hmm. And it's what will be the proportion between B2C and B2B, between your earplugs and smart alert?
Obviously, the volumes are smaller in the B2B world, but it's a much more expensive. We do have some really great customers and known names like NASA and AstraZeneca and big data center where there's lots of noise, especially in these AI training times. So it's still an area of growth for us, and we do see that the sales cycles are longer, but the upside is higher than in the D2C.
And your target audience is data center is kind of your ICP, and you're growing with them, or are you who is your perfect customer? Is it a plant, a data center? Who's your ideal customer?
It's not so much to do with vertical. It's more to do with the awareness and goals they have for their hearing. If you have a customer that is really serious about their HSE programs, that they don't want anyone to risk hearing damage while working in their facilities, that they really care about the well-being and welfare of their workers, that's the ideal customer, and then they will prioritize the products that can help them achieve those goals. But from a vertical standpoint, we have everything from construction, processing to production and data center, any kind of industrial type of noise situations.
You started 7 years ago, 3 years ago with your final B2B product. Why now? Why do you think that's the right moment? Why time to market for that kind of product?
I think we see from other types, or in general, the way that the business of PPE is going is that they are being digitized, that there is a need to validate that the workers have not been harmed while working in our company. So there's that point of view, and also from other types of illnesses that you could get while working, for example, construction, like hand-arm vibration diseases. These and gas and these types of things are also being monitored. So it's very natural that noise is being considered as the same kind of health hazard as those areas.
And what's your ambition? What the future of Minuendo? Is it in what direction are you going?
I mean, we want to protect as many years as possible so that people can live longer and happier lives, both at home and at work. So no need to really put a number to that, but so the mission in itself is good and quite aligned with your ambitions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. And what's on your roadmap? Do you share that, or is it still confidential?
I don't have much to share from our roadmap right now, but it would be great to expand our product offerings to protect even more ears.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Tom, thanks a lot for this Q&A round, and I propose we just switch to the discussion format. Thanks a lot. Thanks for these first questions. Headset or earplugs and noise cancelling headset is quite a busy market actually, with a lot of B2C for consumers and specific players, a bit more like you do really for high-end quality, for instance. How do you make a difference? How do you make a difference between what's your competitive advantage to all these players in the market? What do you think?
Yeah, I think there are, at least for the direct-to-consumer market, there are lots of alternatives, and they span widely in price. We obviously are at the very high end of the market. They are price-wise, and we are kind of positioning ourselves as an alternative to custom-molded earplugs, which has been the dominating product for people that have very high awareness about the quality of hearing protection up until the last 5 to 10 years. So that's mainly who we compare And then, that's in the $100 to $200 range per set of earplugs. But around like $20 to $60, there are a lot of alternatives. There are ways to differentiate against those. One is this natural sound quality, and our membrane-based hearing protection has 3 patent families connected to it, and that's based on this 3-year research program that happened before the company was founded. So there's a very strong and unique technology that we are building upon that allows us to same kind of audio quality as the very top of the line custom molded earplugs, while also having some special features like adjustability, so you can have membranes open. Or
where do you produce the device?
We produce in Norway right now. We'll see in the future if we move that out. I mean, there's a lot of things happening now with the tariffs
to keep the right pricing. Yeah, totally.
So that's high on our agenda right now. What will be most sustainable for the future.
If you still produce in Norway still, but I hear that if the US is a big market for you, and you have tariff, it can be a thing. You told me between 100 and 200 is the price of your target, or is it the average price of the market? Because you told me IN, but I was even expecting a bit more than that. If on top of the market, what's the price range of a Minuendo headset or earplug?
Yeah, I think, so we have a set for $99, which I'm wearing here, and then our adjustable earplugs are $179. There's not really too much in that price range in the market. If you want to get a custom mold, it would cost you maybe $200 or so, depending on how many filters you want with them. So that we want to be a little bit below that. So I would.
So still accessible, in fact, even if you, if you love music, if you look for this natural sound, it's still accessible. It's not a.
I would say it's a very reasonable investment in your own hearing if you have some kind of awareness. So if it's your work or you go to quite a lot of concerts, it should be very attainable. But the trouble is that the thing you're comparing against is the free single-use foam earplugs that you kind of have this whole spectrum from free to hundreds of dollars. But if you compare
for our listeners, compare it to the cost of health. If you lose your hearing capacity, or if you the cost of health, just being stressed by loud music, just not having to repeat. So I think if you compare to free things, it's not the right way to compare it. So I don't say I have no shares into your company, so I'm not interested. But it's it's a very fair price compared to the topic, and it's a topic of your own health if you're listening to music, if you're going to concert, and so on. So I'm not sure that that's really a blocker. On the B2B side, you told me you have this smart alert system being able to measure the frequencies going into the ears of the workers, of the blue collars. What's your positioning here? You said before it's way more expensive.
Yes, it's maybe the headsets themselves are like 400 euros, and then there's a data plan connected to that. But it's not unreasonable, and it's not in a totally different ballpark than people are used to paying for it. And the main interesting part here is the data. While the first level of defense is actually wearing the earplugs, and then it's the data that you collect that kind of verifies that you over time are not exceeding your dose, so that you are accruing hearing damage while you are working at that place.
Is it related to any regulation in the Nordics, for instance, that you can't you are controlled as a company for volume or the level of sound in the ears, of the frequencies in the ears of your employees?
Yes.
So is there any regulations in the Nordics?
Not specifically for the Nordics, but most of the Western world in Europe and the US, there are noise at work regulations, and they most often revolve around this idea of that you can be exposed to a dose of 85 dB 8 hours a day, or the equivalent of that. So if you have half a day, then it's 88 dB, and then it goes kind of in trenches up like that.
Yep. Every 5 minutes you do, yeah. It's
So
much more.
for 15 minutes, you have a level of 100 dB that you can be in without really risking. And then that kind of method of using halving stops being relevant after 100 dB. This is something that we based our notification and warning system around, so that if you are above 85 dB, for example, a certain amount of time, then you will get beep beep and buzz buzz warnings as a user, so that you can adjust your behavior. And if you choose to ignore those warnings, I mean, it will still show up in the data.
Okay, so you use that equation. I think the exact equation, that's the way I learned it, is 85 dB as a start with 8 hours, and then if you have 90 dBs, it's 4 hours, and if 5 dBs more is half the time each time. So meaning at 120, 130 decibel, 1 minute is already arming. That's the way
So
I learned
right
that.
idea.
Not having a table in front of my eyes.
In the US, it's they have a different exchange rate, but in Europe it's a 3 dB. So for each halving of time, then you can go up 3 dB.
Do you or how do you find the awareness of this topic? Because interviewing a lot of people, not only in this podcast, noise is not a very well-known topic. A lot of people just ignore that you can be armed, you can even kill people. I think I heard about 12,000. Yeah, it was in France, maybe 12,000 people dying because of noise, indirectly, directly, but because it's just higher the blood pressure and so on. Heart attacks can be caused by noise and so on. I mean, the social cost of noise is quite huge for Europe. The social costs, including performance and health costs, is close to 1,000 billion of euro per year. But people just are not aware of it. What do you think? And maybe can you give us as your opinion for the Europe and the world? And is there any difference in Norway or in the Nordics between in compared to the rest of the world? Because here in Germany or in France, where I'm mostly, I mean, the awareness is quite low today.
I'm not sure if it's just a lack of knowledge or if it's like a willful ignorance, like much other things that we do that are unhealthy for us, like eat lots of bad food, drink alcohol, smoke. We know the dangers of them, but we still choose to ignore them. And the same with like an analogy would be skin cancer and getting sunburned, right? You know, you may choose not to wear sunscreen, and then it will hurt the day after, but you know, it'll pass, and then you might do the same thing next summer. And then it's just like the sum of the amount of times that you get sunburned that increases the risk of skin cancer, but you're not actively thinking, oh no, I got sunburned, now I'll get cancer. You know, it's a very long, drawn out process.
Yeah.
And humans, we're not really great at taking into the short-term account of a very long-term scope of exposure like that. So I think there's some fundamental psychological thing there that also just even if we did know, we just wouldn't care. Right?
And is it going better, you think, with younger generations, or worse? I have an opinion, but what do you think?
I don't know. I don't have many like 15 to 25-year-olds in my life, so I'm not sure exactly what.
Maybe be happier with that.
Maybe I don't know if awareness is going up or down, but I know that people are used to having things in their ears all day long now, there is an overuse of like active hearing protection and active hear through and things like AirPods. It's messing with people's hearing in an unprecedented scale. Not only hearing damage, but just things like hyperacusis and other noise sensitivities that is skyrocketing now as an effect of just having kind of active devices in their ears all the time, and it really messes with this kind of natural the natural soundscape that we're used to having around us. And that's different from when I was growing up, where people might still be listening to loud Discmans and Walkmans and mini discs and these kind of things, and that can have a detrimental effect to your hearing. It wasn't this like 8 to 10 to 12 hours a day with something in your ear.
It's funny you mentioned that. You really target the right age. That's exactly my generation with the Walkman, then mini disc, and so on. So I don't know yours, I don't know your age, but yeah, exactly. We read with that, but there is more and more habit, even having a conversation. We were listening to music with Walkman or mini disc, but today younger generations seem to have earplugs for everything, even in the transportation, or even two friends working together still having the earplugs and listening to music or not at the same time. So it's a different behavior. The question is, do we want to have earplugs in our ears all day because to control noise, or do we need to reduce noise? I think it has to be adapted to specific situations, and we need a better sound. I do agree with you. We need less noise in the ears directly, specifically on at the workplace, in plants and so on. But I don't see a world where everyone is just equipped with noise cancellation, because we lose not only the bad frequencies, but we lose something else as well. So I think it's very important to have both good equipment for your ears, but at the same time that we reduce, and we are aware about reducing the noise for anyone, for everyone.
And I think it's a common misconception that active noise cancellation, noise reduction, is actually hearing protection. In most cases, it's not the case. I mean, they're not certified hearing protection. It's not like, and I've seen others using like AirPods and things like that going to a concert, and it's just, that's not a good idea on many levels. So there's also a misconception that the world has become a very much noisier place than in the 90s and 2000s. I don't think that's the case. I think traffic noise has gone down with introduction of more silent and efficient engines and electric cars, electric buses, in general. These kind of legislations that are have been stricter as time has passed. So I think some people think that the noise of the world has increased, but I don't believe so.
Still, you think there is a market, going back to Minuendo and your positioning? I mean, when you go on B2B, trying to measure and to reduce noise in factories, for instance, if it's going quiet in the future, or if there is less noise than in the past, your market is going down, right? So how do you see that as a founder? And if you told me you go on fundraising soon, hear that, or you need to speak to investors soon, told me.
We are always speaking to investors.
Yeah, sure. But the meaning, when you speak with investors about the future, and I do that as well for no noise. We don't raise funds for no noise, but we do speak to investors to support startups, and to motivate investors to invest more and to fund more startups and companies in that area. So I know the kind of discussion we can have, and there is something common saying, yeah, but mobility will reduce thanks to electric cars. Exactly as you said, we have less noise than before. So why should it be a growing market? Why should noise be a growing market? Why is your market growing?
I think it's a good question. Even though the world itself might be getting quieter, we're still seeing a lot of hearing damage, especially in the workplace. It's the number one occupational disease in the Western world. So there is a huge problem still, and the reason why the problem remains equally large in general, the world might be getting a little bit quieter. Excuse me, sorry, just lost my train of thought for a minute.
Even if the world is going a bit quieter, you think it's still massive problem at workplace?
Yes, thank you. The way that hearing protection is in the workplace right now isn't working because we aren't measuring the actual dosage. There's so much uncertainty in the actual attenuation, in the actual noise of the noise dosage people are exposed to, the actual usage of the hearing protection have available on sites. If you go to a work site, you see most of the hearing protection is actually on the helmet or out of the ear without having any knowledge of how that's used or the actual exposure that the people have. So even if we have great hearing protection right now, we don't know that it's being used effectively, and we can assume that it's not being used effectively because the levels of hearing damage within the workforce is so large. So that explains why there is a huge market, even if in general it might be becoming a bit quieter over time.
Nice. Thanks a lot for that. What can you do for listeners? Maybe or can we get more information about Minuendo and or if investors or any other partner want to reach out to you, what's the best way to connect to you?
I mean, for just an overview of the company, what we sell, what we do, just go to minuendo.com. Otherwise, just send an email to hello@minuendo.com and we'll get back.
Perfect. What can our listeners do for you?
Just research what the earplugs are the best and, bring them to your next concert or festival, or check out if your company has big noise problems, then look into how we can try to solve that for you.
I can just confirm that I've got the name of your brand through recommendation of one of your customers. So which is a good point. So it's already a good one. One of the 40,000 devices you've sold, if I remember. If not, just roll back to the beginning of the interview. Tom Trones, the CPO and co-founder of Minuendo. Before closing, you say CPO, and I think that it's a hardware startup. What do you think about the difficulties of hardware startup to get heard with not playing with words, but there's a difference between if you're a SaaS startup, B2B SaaS startup, or a hardware startup doing earplugs. There's a completely different market and awareness. So what's your opinion about that?
The old saying of hardware is hard is true. It's difficult to get it right 100% the first time. With the logistics implications of the pandemic, etc. It's been some rough years to get a physical product into people's hand. If you're just a SaaS company without any physical products, you can iterate and learn from your user base so much faster. While in this case, we tried to adopt as many agile methodologies as we could in the beginning, to 3D print, test as much as we could with musicians in symphony orchestras, and using our network to, spent a lot of time trying to build very small prototypes and see if that worked. And then after you reach some kind of, at some point you just have to, okay, let's press the button and go into production. That takes basically a year with little iteration to actually get that product to market. It's a difficulty with hardware, that it's still very much like a waterfall way of doing production, while we want to be as agile as possible. is difficult. I don't know if that answered your question.
Okay. Big, yeah, and a big difference for another discussion. We share this point in common that I'm a CPO too. I've been a CPO for years, so this product passion for product and product management, and I think there's uh, maybe less than before, but still big differences between hardware and software in the way to do product management, as there is some difference between product management for physical products, even not non-tech product, and which is closer to brand management and packaging and logistic and so on, as when you do. And I think as a hardware CPO, you're really between both worlds, having to manage the physical product management and at the same time the firmware / software management, and you can adapt much more agile principle, but still you have this full part physically. So it's really interesting to see, and I think it's still in the way investors and people are understanding this the work you do and the growth of such startup. It's quite interesting to see the difference in making this happening. And you're here for the last 7 years now at Minuendo, and yes, the cycles are way longer. But which is a good thing actually, because investors look for people sticking to the company. So maybe hardware has founders when they are successful staying longer because you stick to your long years of development and the work you do. I think there is an interesting change of view around that, and it should be taken into consideration. I do interview a lot of hardware providers at No Noise in this podcast, Fighting Noise, because hardware is for sure the main source or the main area of solutions for fighting noise. Way more than software, even if we get more and more interesting software as well in the market.
Yeah, and even if you we have a strong SaaS part of the business, it needs that physical component to gather the data to actually be a point of protection for the user. The user needs to have a device that he or she actually wants to use for us to be able to gather that. Just imagine like a smartwatch that had no bother putting it on, right? So there needs to be a very attractive user proposition in order to even get that data in the first place.
Very interesting. I already almost closed the discussion a few minutes ago, but I think it was an interesting add-on. Tom, thanks a lot for your time today. It was a pleasure to have you and to get to know Minuendo a bit better. And thanks a lot for your time, and all the best for Minuendo and for you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the conversation.